So first I'm going to give you a little bit of history, how we came to where we are. It started in 2013 with a big project we did with the Mountaineers. They had a situation where they needed e-commerce. They had an immediate need for paying for courses and then memberships of to the organization, but they also had long-range planning. They would eventually need to sell books, T-shirts, stuff like that. So, and they wanted it eventually all to be handled within a unified shopping cart. So that was sort of the goal there. We knew that customizing GetPaid to do all this would be quite painful. And besides, the client would have a lot of very specific requests. We also wanted to use Stripe for the payment processor. This is a payment processor that has the ability to handle transactions without sending any of the credit card information to the Plone site, so it's more secure. So we started out with Carlos de la Guardia implementing a simple client-side cart and a simple merchandise type. Then we realized that we needed to have access to the cart on the server side. So David Glick, who should be here but isn't, implemented that. Hopefully he'll show up to answer questions. Anyway, gradually over the course of this 10-month project, we added course registrations, memberships, donations, promo codes for getting discounts, taxes, figuring the tax calculations, 2 different shipping methods, a synchronization of all this to Salesforce, and a smooth flow through the shopping cart for this fairly complicated process, and of course a beautiful theme. The Mountaineer site has a really lovely design done by Neil Mayer up in BC, Canada. And then later, like in a follow-on project, we added the books and other merchandise. So we were quite happy with, this is a long project, we added a lot of functionality, and we were happy with the results. We were happy with the way Stripe worked and the way the whole thing worked. I'll show you just a few screenshots so you'll get kind of an idea of what it looks like. So this is just a view of the shopping cart. You can see how you can sort of adjust the contents of the cart. This shows you how you can apply a promo code to get a discount, and it also shows that being a nonprofit, very conscious of funding, it takes the opportunity to ask if you'd like to add a donation every time you do a transaction. This is the screen where you would enter your shipping address and choose your shipping method, and then eventually the checkout form where you sort of verify that you've got everything the way you want and click on to complete the, and then go ahead and enter the billing address, the payment information, click on complete the purchase. That gives you an idea. And this is, just for a few things, and you can imagine that going through the whole membership joining process is even more complicated than that, but basically takes you to the same cart. And also just to emphasize that this final payment information form, the payment information is collected via JavaScript code that never touches Plone. So Plone knows nothing about this, and it makes it a nice secure method. Okay, so fast forward to 2016, and we had another client come along, South Dakota Historical Society Press. I'm probably standing right in the way of you guys for seeing the slides, so sorry about that. They needed a shopping cart, simple shopping cart for making book purchases. It was actually fairly similar to the Mountaineers requirements for the purchasing, so we thought, well, and we kind of reviewed the existing add-ons at the time, and actually BDA Shop, which I was wishing the BDA Shop people were here. It existed at the time, but we already had so much of the functionality that we needed from the Mountaineer site, and we were very happy with the way that it worked. So we decided to make a new add-on based on that approach, and we called it Jazzcarta Shop. So mostly David did the preliminary work of sort of teasing out the information from the code from the Mountaineer site, pulling it into its own package. We had a Jazzcarta Sprint where we did that work. and then came back to this project, and Alec, Mitchell, and Vitek, whose last name I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, it's a Polish last name, did the final work of integrating it with this website and creating the content types, the book content types, and journals, I think, too, or issues or something like that, so that we could apply it to this site. So again, just a few screenshots. Here you can see that the books are purchasable. There's an add to cart button. Also, there's a little cart thing up in the upper right, and if you click on that, you get a pop-up showing the contents of the cart. Again, you can view and adjust the contents of the shopping cart. You can apply a promo code to get a discount. Proceeding to checkout is going to collect address, shipping, and payment information, similar to what you saw before for Mountaineers. And then just one more screenshot, there's an administrative function control panel where you can, they can view the order history, so that's kind of collected on the back end. Plone, they also get emails for purchases, so that alerts them. I feel like this is falling off, but I'm okay. Okay, so what happened next this year? Another client, a long-standing client with a website we did back in 2012 or something, I think, a long time ago, maybe 2011. They had been the University of Minnesota Press, this is. They have e-commerce, they have journals, subscriptions that they sell, and they also have registrations for events and also a membership registration. So they had been, and we had implemented that stuff with GetPaid back in the day. Were you going to say something? Okay. Oh, that was since 2012. I actually made a note. And then last December, yay, there's David. That's okay. Last December, the university, their parent organization, decreed that all the e-commerce on all university-wide would use Authorize.net. They'd used Authorize.net before. That was their standard payment processor, but they needed to switch from the old way of doing things to the SIM, S-I-M. I don't remember what SIM stands for. Server Integrated Method. S-I-M, SIM. So it's actually a sort of a deprecated payment method for Authorize.net. You know, universities always being really up to date, but that's what they, you know, we asked and asked and asked again, but they kept saying, no, you got to do it this way, you got to do it this way. So, okay, so we needed to integrate this whole payment thing that we'd come up with that payment method. We were also planning to move the site, we are planning to move the site to Plone 5. It's a little complicated. They have a bibliography. Anyway, at some point, they'll be going to Plone 5. And, of course, GetPaid infrastructure that we were using is not Plone 5 compatible, and it wasn't under active maintenance by that time, so it seemed really silly to bend over backwards and retrofit GetPaid rather than just switch to using Jazzcarta Shop. So we decided to expand Jazzcarta Shop to support archetypes, which these content types were archetypes, to support Plone 4.3, because that's what this site was, and to support the SIM payment processing. So just to point out that Jazzcarta Shop allows for pluggable payment systems. So although this is using SIM now, it would be fairly straightforward to upgrade it to use one of the more modern Authorize.net payment situations when eventually the university comes around to doing that. Another change that we made, David wanted to point out, was to store the carts in the ZODB rather than in sessions, which we had been doing before, even for anonymous users. Quote, and I'll let David, you asked him questions, this makes it easier to deploy when running multiple SOAP instances. So that was the rationale behind that. So this is not launched yet. We're pretty much done and in testing, although they're a little slow to test. So hopefully the gods will smile, all things will come together. They'll test this November and we'll launch. So that's what's happening with that. So, and again, some screenshots. This is the form for filling out your application for a membership in the Native American and Indigenous Studies Association, a NASA membership. So you can see they have these very long, complicated forms, and the form that they fill out for registering for the conferences that they have here is also similarly crazy long. These are PFG forms, of course. So then when you go to check out with this membership, you can see, again, your shopping cart, 15 minutes to complete the process, and then when you click on the button to complete the purchase, you are taken to authorize.net. And there's very limited opportunity. This is the part of the application that's not finished yet, because we're kind of trying to get them to tell us what should the header really look like. They can provide a graphic for the header. The vertical graphic on the website is completely inappropriate, so we're kind of waiting for them on that. So basically, you get to have a footer and a header and adjust some colors, and that's about it. And then all that information in that huge long form, that doesn't have to do with payment, is saved in a GetPaid data adapter, that Plone FormGen provides. So we capture that information. Okay, so just Dakota Shop features, just to breeze through them. You sort of saw them, get the idea. It's got pluggable payment processors at the moment. Stripe and Authorize.net SIM are the two implementations that we have. It's got a pluggable shipping provider kind of architecture. Currently, it's set up to handle United States Postal Service and UPS. Those are the implementations. And similarly, thanks, the API for calculating state and local taxes is pluggable, and at the moment we have a handler for Washington state taxes. We have a handler called TaxJar, which is a commercial service. You pay for it, fairly minimal per month, I think, and it's an automated sales tax calculation based on address. So entering the address, you can get based on that, the shipping address, you can get the taxes that need to be charged. There's also a no-tax handler for things like these NASA memberships, which aren't taxable, so you can say, use the no-tax handler on this. Let's see, what else? It's compatible with 4.3 and 5. The purchasable content types can be either dexterity or archetypes. Rather than providing kind of an out-of-the-box minimal purchasable thing, you just use your own content types, whatever it is that you have, and you extend it with either a behavior in the case of dexterity or a schema extender in the case of archetypes to make it purchasable. And you notice that we had the Plone FormGen integration there for those big forms, so there's a separate package that provides the PFG integration. Essentially a handler that is, when you send your stuff off to authorize.net, if it comes back successful, you can grab the stuff that the form filled out. So just some quick slide shots of the control panel. It provides several control panels, one for the shop orders, you saw that, one for shop settings, things like the codes for using your payment processor, whichever one that is, setting up emails, and also another one for shipping methods. Here's just a screen you can see. You can have multiple shipping methods, add a new one, edit a shipping method, gives you a form where you can choose like the zones and minimum purchases and the calculation methods, like you can define all. It's more complicated than this. There are a number of forms to define the shipping methods and that sort of thing. Okay, status, it's kind of still a work in progress. It's obviously available, just Dakota Shop, on our GitHub repo, GitHub account, and we haven't released it to PyPy yet. That is obviously the goal, but it's grown organically. The code has been proven in the wild several times, as you saw, but it really needs automated tests, so it's not quite ready for prime time yet, but we're pretty pleased with the way it works. We had hoped to have compare and contrast with BDA.shop. That's another alternative that you all who need e-commerce should definitely look into BDA shop. Might be more appropriate for the European market. This Jess Carter shop might be more appropriate for the American market since it handles that horrible tax thing that we do, sales tax thing that we do. So, voila. Should we do a quick question round? Okay, yep. So I'm all set. We have time for some quick questions. I'm sharing the slot with another presenter, but if you have any questions.
Thank you, Sally. Any questions? There is yet another shop product.
Okay.
ftw.shop.
Oh, that's
from
right.
From the guys from 14 Work. It works quite good, yeah.
Yeah, there are a number. There's probably, wasn't there I think there was, well, anyway.
ftw.shop.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, thank you, Sally.
Super.
Big applause for her.
I will disentangle myself.